Hi, my name is Marie with JVMP Food Sculpture, and today I'd like to talk with you about different materials you can sculpt with. And we've sculpted with many different kinds of materials over the years, butter being one of the most popular ones, cheese, chocolate, fruits and vegetables, and other types of materials, food materials as well. In this video, I wanted to talk about our process of doing butter sculpture and basically our methods, why we do them, the kind of environment that you need in order to be successful doing a butter sculpture, and how long it lasts, and also what we do with the material after. Those are probably the top questions that people want to know when they ask us about butter sculpture in general. So starting first with methods and methodology. When we do a butter sculpture, first off, it's not for eating purposes, it's not for consumption. We start off with waste butter and from our suppliers. Generally, our sculptures are very large in size, so they can use up hundreds of pounds of butter. We can use hundreds of pounds, sometimes over 1,000 pounds of butter for one butter sculpture. So when you get the butter in that kind of quantity, we get it at the plant and from different sources. And it is generally waste butter. So it's not going to be food grade. It's damaged butter, damaged packages, and they can't sell it for consumption. So also, because the butter sculptures are very large, then you have to have some kind of support underneath to hold up the weight of the material. So we create armatures, and an armature is a standard practice, it's a standard kind of methodology, in sculpture. So whether you're using clay or whether you're using a food material, we make our armatures generally out of steel. We can make it out of wood. We can have foam, or a combination of those kinds of materials. Anything which is going to support, the material. And generally, we like to have our armatures in the shape and in the gesture of whatever it is that we're sculpting. So if it is a figure, for instance, and it's a standing figure, maybe an action figure, an arm up, a leg, out to the side, whatever, the armature is going to reflect that gesture and, and very closely resemble, what it is ultimately that's going to be sculpted. So we make an armature. The butter sculpture is not for consumption, so we can use those kinds of armature materials. We can use the wood, we can use the steel. I suppose if you wanted it to really to be an edible sculpture, you could kind of cover it with aluminum foil or something, but we don't really do things for consumption. So on top of we sculpt butter, we add the butter on top of the armature and begin the process of modeling the material. And that is just an additive process. You build it up and then you create the shapes and the forms and the detail that you want. So that's generally what the process is for creating a butter sculpture. And like I said, we do rather large size sculptures with this material. I don't really feel that butter is easy to use when it's smaller. Although, I think that there are some smaller size butter sculptures, but generally we don't do that. The purpose, why do we sculpt in butter? And, the short answer is that, we get hired to do these butter sculptures, for different kinds of events, mostly fairs, expositions, things of that nature, because butter is an agricultural product. And so the fairs, which have that component to it, kind of representing, agriculture, farms, and where food comes from, they like to have these butter sculptures as, celebrations, basically. Celebrations of, agriculture, and also as an educational component too, so that they can show people, hey, look, this is butter, and, talk about where butter comes from. And plus, it is something that's very entertaining for people as well, to be able to see a butter sculpture. We always get people that have just very positive reactions to seeing a butter sculpture, because it's not something you see every day. So dairy is always sort of on the forefront of people's minds anyway, but to see it in this particular kind of way, it's just different, and it's kind of exciting. And so that's basically the reason why we do the butter sculptures, and who we do them for. Now, we have done some other events outside of the fairs and expositions with the butter. Actually, we do a lot of PR events with butter brands, and so helping them to maybe introduce a new product into the market with a butter sculpture, and so it's really kind of very exciting. So we've done many different PR events for many different brands of butter. So the brands of butter we work with are Land O'Lakes, Organic Valley, Cabot Creamery, Keller's Butter, President Brand Butter, which is a French brand, and let's see, there might be something else that I'm missing, but there are other brands than that, but those are the main ones that we've done, that we've worked with for butter sculptures. So the environment that you have to work in when you're using butter as a material, it has to be cold enough to, to keep its shape. As you know, when you keep butter out, it gets soft. So it gets a lot more spreadable, it gets a lot more loosey-goosey, and that's really not the best state to be able to sculpt in. So usually a little bit firmer, but we vary the temperature in our butter booth. It's a temperature controlled environment. A booth usually has windows on all the sides, so people can actually watch us while we're working. And so you want it to be a little bit firmer so that you can actually get it to stick and stay on top of the armature, okay? And then also from there, then you'll be able to sculpt it down and, get detail into it. So we don't like to work with it too cold at first, and the reason is because they're very large sculptures, and you can move a lot more material when it's softer and more malleable. If it's just frozen, then it's going to be hard to attach to the armature. Basically, as far as its durability, the butter sculpture can last really as long as it's in the right kind of environment, as long as the temperature is down low enough. And so, and that's it. You don't want it to have direct sunlight on it too much, because that can melt the surface. But I mean, if it's just in the right refrigerated environment, it'll really kind of last. But the events that we do the butter sculptures for, have an end date. And so usually at the end of the fair or the end of the PR event that we're doing, the butter gets torn down off of the armature, and we actually recycle the butter. So we can take it to farms that have anaerobic digesters, and that can turn butter into energy. It can turn it into electricity, or sometimes it can be turned into kind of biofuel, so yeah, it's a very good, second kind of use, second kind of life for the butter. And yeah, so it's exciting that we can use it that way as well. So those are basically, some of the key points of how we actually do a butter sculpture. And if you are interested in learning more about butter sculptures, then please consider subscribing to this channel and opting into our newsletters and emails that we send out from time to time. updating people on what we're doing. And so leave a comment for us, and we look forward to seeing you again. Bye-bye.